Women's Day. Now we go. All right, welcome everyone to International Women's Day Hangout, Google Hangout. We are continuing to celebrate women all over the continent, and we thought that it's really good to just extend it, because one day. Sorry, my phone is going off, but can you guys hear me? Yes. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Wow. Oh, as I was saying, to really celebrate women and to go on with the International Women's Google Hangout, I'm surrounded today, as you can see from the Nairobi office, by many women who are attending the digital training. Show some love to the rest of Africa. Okay. And next to me, Mrs. Mary Okello, who's one of our guest speakers. So I'm just going to move on and invite, because I didn't see everyone, so just a quick acknowledgement from the offices so I know you're all there. So let's start with Nigeria. Are you all there so I can just see you guys? Show us some love.
Hi.
Fantastic. And I assume you're with our speaker, Olubukola, as well?
Yes, hi, it's Okello.
Hi, great to have you. South Africa, are you guys there? Well done, we hear you clearly. Ghana. All right, we're going to come back to Kenya later. Uganda, are you there? Don't be intimidated, Uganda. All right, okay. Thank you all. Thank you so much. And to set us off, we are really privileged to have such an enormous, group of panelists who are joining us today. I did see Anne Rachel, who's joining us from Geneva. Welcome, Anne Rachel. We're going to start right on with Ambassador Phoebe, who's the AU Commission Chairman, who's actually here representing Dr. Dlamini Zuma, who was supposed to join us today. So we're really pleased to have you, Phoebe, and maybe start with some opening remarks for us on what it means to be a woman and empowering us with the digital side, the policy side.
Okay.
Over to you.
Thank you very much, and hi to everybody across the continent. Firstly, Dr. Dlamini Zuma apologized. She really wanted to be here today, but she's attending a higher education summit in Dakar, and so there's quite a lot of demands on her time. The International Women's Day is an opportunity to look back at where we come from, but it's also looking at the challenges of today and where we want to go to, and certainly empowering women through technology is one of the key areas as a continent that we need to make sure that we get young women involved in, get older women involved in, as I can see from your participants, and to make sure that women in this new economy and in the knowledge economy, that women are from the onset are part of this movement of innovators, of entrepreneurs, as business managers, and also as people that look at the needs of their communities and find solutions to addressing the challenges that we face. So I'm very happy to be part of this hangout, to celebrate International Women's Day with you, and also to hear from you the kind of issues that you think that as a continent we need to take forward to make it easier and to make it possible for you to do what you need to do to fulfill your dreams and your aspirations. Thanks.
Thank you, Ambassador. Thank you for those kind of words. And you say empowering women through technology. Actually, one of the key things when we started this hangout and also this part of this digital training was a lot of times we see when we have these invitations, more men tend to come and tend to apply. And this time we wanted to really focus on women and give women a chance to just turn up and be trained, be equipped with what they need to advance in their businesses using technology. So you'll hear more about their asks as well, and I'm sure they'll be asking you questions. Let me move on to Anne-Rachel. Anne-Rachel Inne, who joins, who's the VP, the Vice President for Government Engagement from ICANN, who is a strong, really believer in what technology does for the continent. I think you normally just fight for the continent to be able to have its own domains, to be able to have its own resources, and for us as a woman in ICANN, one of the top, ladies, it's really important for us to have you. Just say a few words on.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon. So as she said, my name is Anne-Rachel Inne, and I'm the Vice President of ICANN, the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers. I take care in Geneva of our government engagement. Can you hear me? Yes.
Yes.
Good. So I have been working for ICANN for the past practically 13 years on and off. I worked there for about 11 years, and then I moved to the Regional Internet Registry for Africa, that is the AFRINIC. It's the body that actually gives IP addresses, for domain names for the whole African region. I was their Chief Operations Officer, and then I moved back to ICANN here in Geneva to take care of government engagement. This is the technology in general, and still today is a lonely place for ladies and women in general. So I'm really glad that you all are thinking about coming into not only businesses, but also, that we have government people that are engaged in civil society, women who are thinking about moving this process really forward, especially for our continent. One of the reasons why I decided way back then to join ICANN was really to get our community to participate to something that is the core of the internet work. I'm not a technical person. In fact, my background is languages and international finance and economics. So the reasons why, though, I decided to come in here was that I did a minor at my university on what at the time was called marketing on the internet. And my team did the first merchant website of Walmart at the time. And this brought me into the technology business, and ever since I haven't left. And as I said, one of the reasons why I came to ICANN was to make sure that our community really participates, that also girls, and I'm one of the proponents and founders of AFNOG Chicks and Afrinic Chicks, and girls in technology in general. Wherever I travel on the continent, I go to universities and I make sure that, I talk to undergrads and graduate students in technology, but especially the girls, because I want to motivate them to go into that business. To date, if the internet was a country, it would be, I think, the Boston Consulting Group says, the fourth biggest, or the fifth, the fourth biggest economy in the world, with about $4.5 trillion of business. So there's opportunities. I mean, especially for youth and women on our continent. We're going to be connected. Everything will be IP based. So there will be businesses anywhere from connecting transportation all the way to basically the applications that will help us do e-commerce or e-agriculture and the rest of it. So I'm really happy to be here. Congratulations to all the ladies that are following this program. And I will stop here and let you ask questions. I'll be very happy to also, one of the things that I do is mentor young ladies that are coming into the business. So if anybody is interested, I'm more than open to do that. So thank you very much for having me today, and I'll let the others also say their part, and then we can discuss more. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you. And of course, there are all these tidbits about you that you never read in a bio. So I didn't know about your experience with Walmart, which is really what got you into the tech world. So participants, just keep your questions, know who you're going to ask, and then we'll go on with the panel. So I'll call on Betty. Is Betty there from Ghana? Betty? And while Betty is coming on, I'll say Betty is the CEO of Explainer DC. And as you say, the panel here are people who really support women and the growth and empowerment of women. Betty sits on the advisory board as a chairperson of Summit, an organization that seeks to empower women and girls to transform their leadership. She's also co-founder and director and company secretary of Ghana Women in ICT. She has been a managing director for Thoughtworks in Africa, has been an executive director at Ernst & Young, and speaks on many issues that deal with supporting and encouraging women to do business. Betty, welcome. My name is Dorothy. I'm not introducing myself. Your moderator is Dorothy Oak. I'm based out of Nairobi.
Nice to meet you.
Welcome, Betty. Thank you. Betty, over to you.
Oh, yes. Well, hello, everybody. Definitely, it's great to see so many of you in this program, and it's great to be having this conversation. I'm really looking forward to learn and share today. As was mentioned in sort of my bio, I do spend quite a bit of time making sure that I'm engaging in sort of audiences like this, where there are more women who are actually coming into the field. I think Anne Rochelle said it perfectly when she said it's still too lonely a place for women in technology. And we definitely need to see more of you coming into the field. And so it's nice to be here to welcome you to the field and make sure that you have a smoother ride than some of us have had. It's great to be in technology. Certainly, I started out as a developer, sort of working help desk, network engineering as well. And have really kind of graduated into first being an entrepreneur. First in Ernst & Young, I was the global technology leader for a third of our business across 160 countries. And I think that's really where I got the interest in sort of building larger scale technology-enabled systems that could work across cultures and across borders. And then from there, I just
Well, go on, we can hear you.
Okay. And then from there, I decided to move back home, which is actually Accra. Spent quite a bit of time growing an IT consulting business within Ernst & Young. And then moved into Thoughtworks, which was a software engineering company. And so there it was great to see us creating technology that can be used by anybody. But I got very concerned because I didn't see enough women creating technology for women. And I didn't see enough of us on project making sure our perspective was included in all the technology that was built. And so since then, I've actually started an advisory firm, getting back to my entrepreneurial roots. We're only about 2.5 months old, but we're already 23 people. Actually 29 if you include all of the partners. We're building great technology. And still, I'm not seeing enough women sort of in the field, but we're already close to about 50% women in the global partners and so looking forward to your journeys and what you achieve and seeing how I can make it an easier one.
Thank you. Thanks, Betty. I like what you said. You said that you want to give, you hope that the participants in today's training will be able to have a better and a smoother ride than what you had, you who are the pioneers in this field. I'll move over to Mrs. Mary Okello, who sits next to me. Mrs. Mary Okello is well known in the Kenyan circles. She was the first woman bank manager in Kenya in 1967 was sent by Barclays Bank to go for a management training and came back to be the first woman bank manager in the country. She was at the forefront in changing policies to be able to accommodate women, and her stint as bank manager led to changes in policies, which included allowing women to carry the bank keys because women were not allowed. So she could talk a lot about that. She also started the Barclays Bank Women's Foundation, was the founder of Kenya Women's Finance Trust, has been really involved with Women Wealth Banking, and was the first Women's World Banking Africa Regional Representative in Nairobi, been involved with the African Development Bank as a senior advisor to the President of the African Development Bank. She's a member of the Task Force on Laws Relating to Women in Kenya and does speak on many issues concerning women. Is the founder, together with her late husband, Dr. Okello, the founder of the Makini Schools that are well known in Kenya, one of the top private schools in the country that excels in both academic and co-curricular activities. She has done many, I'll go through many pages on what she does. Her school sponsors and gives bursaries to needy students, and is a firm believer in supporting women and getting women hired. She also recently just started a widows program, given that she herself knows what it means to be a widow, and continues to support widows programs wherever she can. She's affiliated and a board member to many organizations. I'll name just a few: chairperson of Kenya Women's Finance Trust, trustee of Nairobi Dam, trustee of Nairobi Street Families, board member of Federation of Kenya Employees, Kenya Private Sector Alliance, Tumaini Foundation, and many others. She's won many awards, and we're really pleased to have you with us.
First, let me thank Group for this initiative. Very excited that you are empowering women, because women have always been disadvantaged in society. This is going to give them an opportunity to catch up, maybe to surpass men. So I'm very happy that this is happening. And I congratulate the participants. You have a golden opportunity. As you go, when you finish, you go out there and spread what you have learned so that you have a critical mass of women out there benefiting from this initiative.
You don't want to talk a bit about your personal experience so they can have questions to ask?
Well,
I'm putting you on the spot now.
Well, I'm in business. I run a school, and I do a few other things as you have heard from the CV. But what I have seen out there is the world is still very much dominated by men, and it still doesn't accept women on equal terms, and therefore women have to work extra hard. The Forbes World Richest People list about 2 years ago, they said there were 497 billionaires, and of these only 37% were women, and only one was self-made. So you can see women must be facing a lot of challenges. That is why they are not making it in a big list. There are many challenges we face, and many challenges I faced in starting and running a business. For example, accessing appropriate funding. There are also discriminatory practices in the marketplace. A lot of times we need to go as a woman to look for example, land board. If you are buying a property, men there don't normally accept you as a woman. So sometimes I remember one occasion when I went, I was told to go back and find a male before I could get a land without consent. So you can see there are many obstacles in the way. Financing also in Kenya, like in many African countries, is never appropriate. Sometimes the interest rates are so high, or the terms of the loans are not, you know, not much the kind of business you are doing. I'll give you an example. When we wanted to expand our schools into secondary school, we looked around, we couldn't find funding, the interest rates were very high, ranging from 25 to 30%. So we went offshore and we got a loan from the World Bank. At that time, we had hoped to pay back in dollars because it was a dollar loan. But because of insecurity in the country, international students who were hoping would come and pay the loan did not come. So we were left with a dollar loan without dollar income. It was quite tough. We had to go back to the World Bank to ask them to reschedule the terms of the loan. If we had not done that, we would have collapsed. I'm saying this because in business you come remain afloat. You have to be alert also to opportunities. Sometimes they come in a very unexpected way. I remember I was on a plane from Zambia going to Abidjan, bumped into an Israeli businessman. We were talking and he talked about the day game system of computers which were being used in Israel and Greece as teaching tool. And from that conversation, we ended up getting computers into Kenya in the 1980s. We were the first school in the country to introduce computers in the school. It was not easy, but it was an opportunity that I grabbed just along the way. So as women, we should always be alert to opportunities. We should learn to persevere, should remain focused, and we should learn to solve problems. And most of the churches said, never, never, never give up. We face challenges, but we must never give up. For me personally, I can only attribute my success to trusting in God. So whatever you do, God first. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So persevering, taking advantage of every opportunity, every conversation, because therein lies the opportunity. Thank you so much. I move on to Nigeria. We've got Bukola. Forgive me if my pronunciation is not right. Bukola, who's the founder and CEO at Bytesize Digital Marketing Agency. She's an entrepreneur with a focus on African business development and empowerment of women and empowerment of experiences across marketing functions. She has a track record of 9 years in digital innovation and marketing and business to transform businesses, which she is already doing in Nigeria. Bukola, over to you.
Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. I started Bytesize about just over 5 years ago. I used to be in the UK doing Nyirenda-Jere, especially in advertising industry. So about 5 years ago, I came down and I started a company, and I know that wasn't as easy as that. But I spent quite a bit of time trying together for the business, and I pitched the idea to quite a few companies, and eventually the business got started. Currently, you know, in Nigeria, it's quite hard because marketing as a field is a very male-dominated industry. But even in that, I think we found that women are generally a lot more hardworking, and you know, whilst I guess as the billionaires list reflects, whilst we're the hard workers, we don't make a lot of the world's money. And I think this is something that we have to change. It's something that we try to change in Bytesize, where we're kind of quite serious about getting women in business, but also getting women rewarded for the talent and the work and the hunger that we put into the business. So that's me, Olubukola from Bytesize. Thank you.
Thank you, Bukola. And we have I'm making too much noise. All right. I'll open up for questions. So how we're going to do it is, I think we have space. Let's have one question from each office. Say who you are, or if there's someone in the office who's moderating who can read out the question. Let's start with Nairobi. Anyone has a question to any of the speakers? A comment? Yes, there's can we have a mic here? Here.
Hi, everyone. My question is to Anne. Oh, sorry. My name is Jerry Wangare, and my question is to Anne Rochelle. And there has been a discussion regarding the management of the domains, because the US will be giving up control of that, and so there's this huge discussion on who is going to take control of the top level domains, and the concern has been that Africa has not been that involved, and I think my question is, how can African nations better be involved in the management of the domains, as well as another question on when can we own an African domain, because I know that has been the works for a really long time, and it has not happened yet. Thank you.
You're muted, I'm Rochelle.
Yes.
You're muted.
Yes.
Oh, okay, fantastic. We can hear you.
Okay, good. Thanks for the question. And first of all, nobody controls the internet. It's a shared responsibility, and we all do it. So what is happening is that ICANN coordinates what we call the identifiers of the internet. These are the domain names, these IP addresses, and what we also call the glue of the internet, that is protocol parameters. In there, so one of the things that ICANN... Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. So one of the things that ICANN does is also, with a contract from the Department of Commerce in America, manage those identifiers. This is what we call the IANA function. And basically, from the beginning of ICANN, one of the things that was instituted was the checks and balances. ICANN was a new organization. It was supposed to basically coordinate and manage those identifiers for the rest of the world. It was supposed to also put processes and procedures to do that. So one of the things that happened was that there had to be somebody who could say, that processes and procedures that have been put in place were followed and properly. So put checks and balances so that somebody else could do the somewhat of the auditing that is needed when things are to happen at the root of the internet. So ICANN has been doing that with the stewardship, or under the stewardship of the United States government, particularly the NTIA, at the Department of Commerce. So this stewardship is what is now being talked about to be given back to the international community. And it is true that a lot of our governments are unaware, a lot of our community is unaware. Civil society, private businesses have not been very involved in the discussion. Way back in 1996, 97, 98, when ICANN was started, there were talks, international talks, and again, apart from the few experts, that were in the discussions from the African region, like Nikwe for Ghana, or myself, or Pierre Ouedraogo from Burkina Faso, and others, there weren't that many people. So today, again, we face the same situation. We are to put together a new construct that would help the global community do that oversight for ICANN and for the identifiers at the root, because ICANN is a not-for-profit corporation, and it actually operates as an entity that has the public interest at heart more than anything. So we need to do this for the whole world, and we need to do it well. And everybody has an input. So one of the things that we are doing with the Vice President and the team in the African region is to go around and have meetings. He just had one last week in Senegal, where you know, the community came together to discuss how can the African region have an input in this new I don't know, construct that we're going to put together that will be doing the oversight and basically the stewardship of what ICANN is doing. So meetings, and please help us. If any of you have any ideas how this can be conveyed, you know, to the communities, let us know. We are meeting governments also in parallel, you know, in the region, outside the region. And whenever you know, the community asks, we talk to them also directly and try to involve them. So how can we own a domain name? Well, the community has put together a name that is called .Africa, for example, that is now into discussion at the ICANN level, and that has that should be hopefully operated under you know, the community chosen proponent. And this is one thing that the African Union Commission is very involved in. And quite a few countries have been involved in the process at ICANN. We do have governments that participate from the region, quite a few of them. But again, because it's such a technical issue, or they consider it to be technical, you know, a lot of the governments don't really give it, you know, the amount of I guess, interest that it should get. So hopefully, if .Africa goes forward, it will, you know, it will be the first top-level domain owned by the African region. ICANN has reopened the top-level domain part of the root, and you know, today people like well, I won't be doing, I guess, publicity for people, but Google, for example, just got the .app. So if you had an app that was, you know, something doing really great, you could buy a domain name for your app from Google, you know, if that is something that they will do. So these are entrepreneurs from our region can also think about, you know, names that they can put forward at the next round, when the round of TLD's application will be open. So, you know, that will be probably around end of 2017 or 2018, you know. So it is important that we think about that also, because we do have quite a few names that historically, you know, were taken by people who were not from our region. Today, the internet economy, the digital economy, is something really that we cannot do without. And, you know, our names, our, yeah, the things that we do need to be protected on the internet. So this is, you know, tying one here, intellectual property, with, you know, domain names. Today, it's about all your data, you know, in health and all of that. So it's putting our own networks also together, you know, and making sure that we manage them properly. And I'm glad that some here are, you know, in the background, software, or, you know, coders, or, you know, equipment makers. It's one of the things that we absolutely need to do also for our region. So I'll stop here. Thank you.
Thanks. And yeah, thank you.
Add to the conversation about the work that ICANN is doing.
Yes.
As I think the name is Rochelle said, the African Union has been involved in the discussion about getting the .Africa domain name. But I think that there's the broader issue is, and the person that asked the question put hit the key point, that if the internet belongs to everybody, then it means that we should all be involved in its governance, in its oversight, etc. And that's what the conversation is about. For Africa, one of the challenges has been that we have not been part of these conversations because governments, as you said, don't see it as a technical issue. And that is why forums like these are important, because we need to build up a community of people working in the sector that can form an African community that advocate for a much more multilateral approach towards these issues, but also can be at the table when these discussions takes place in the world and can represent the interests of the continent. So I think that the issues, it's people that's involved in the sectors as entrepreneurs, as professionals, but it's also working together with government to make sure that are protected. Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll was that Ambassador Fifi?
I'm sorry. Question from Ghana.
Any other office wants to ask questions? Question from Ghana. Okay.
Okay, so the question we have here is addressed to Enyo, and most of the women in this room are entrepreneurs. And so the question they have for you is, what are the key components you look out for in building businesses? Because you seem to have a very sort of eclectic background and very sort of in-depth knowledge in various businesses. And in terms of scalability, what are the key components you look out for in building businesses? That's the first part of the question. And the second part of the question is, what are some of the challenges that basically have come up and that you personally experienced with starting your businesses, especially as it pertains to the Ghanaian market, and how do you sustain your passion despite these challenges?
Great. Over to Betty.
I need to unmute. Okay. Great question. So I think one of the things that I look for is I look for business opportunities that really suit my style of business building. I think one of the advantages of sort of having done it for a number of years is that I've really gotten to know sort of my style and how I grow teams and how I grow organizations, and what really keeps me going, because it's not an easy path to be an entrepreneur. It's not an easy path to build businesses. I mean, the reality is that if it was easy, a lot of people would have done it. But oftentimes we're working in challenging circumstances, and we're doing things that are very new. There is no playbook to actually create them. And so it's the solving the challenges that actually makes it fun. And so what keeps you going is sort of the interest you have in whatever it is you're doing and the passion that you have. So I make sure that the very first thing is that it's something that I connect with. And so for me, that always includes some element of technology. I'm very interested in productivity and sort of how you get teams to work well together and how you get efficiency into a process. And so I look for opportunities that are like that. I also look for opportunities in industries that really interest me. I think one of the advantages is that I started out as a consultant, as a management consultant, and so there's a lot of problem-solving skills that sort of come in that field. But I think that we generally have that in any kind of STEM career. So if you're coming up with a STEM background, whether it's engineering or math or even music, I mean, there's a lot in there that's really about logic and sort of figuring out how to make things work and fit together. So yeah, I make sure that I'm attracting what really kind of holds my attention. Because the challenges are many, sort of as you asked. And in Ghana, I would say some of the challenges are really actually just working with men. I think it's one of the biggest things. There's a lot of perception that as a woman, you're not as tough a negotiator, or that you really don't have a full awareness of everything that it takes to run a business. You find a lot of people who should be sitting as your peers across the table negotiating with you, trying to advise you. And a lot of times you'll enter the room and you may be the most senior person on your team, but you're asking every other guy who's your staff the question rather than asking you, who may be the CEO or the lead. And so I take all of those things with a lot of patience. And I just sort of realize that they're coming from a very different context, and that eventually, at the end of the day, you may ask all of my team members the question, but you're gonna have to ask me. And when you do, I'll be there. I'll be there with the answer. And so I take a lot of patience in that, and I also make sure that I know that going into any negotiation, that I try to understand the person who's on the other side of the table, and use it to my advantage, because it is the way the field is stacked at the moment. And so I just have to kind of accept that that's what it is and try and find ways to leverage it and make it easier. So I think that's in summary the question. Hope that answered it. If not, please ask a follow-up.
Yes, thank you so much. Okay.
Oh. Okay, next, Nigeria. Nigeria has a question, and then we'll go on to the last one. Nigeria?
South Africa also has a question.
Okay, Nigeria, then South Africa, or South Africa, then Nigeria. Whoever is ready.
South Africa.
Okay, South Africa, go.
Okay.
All right.
So we have a joint question. I'm just gonna actually do both of them together. So basically, the main question, and this can be for Anne, or it can be for oh, is she still there? Yes, for our doctor. It's actually around government and women development. So what we want to know is, what is the future for women in entrepreneurship, as well as just overall education for women, and what are the governments doing about it, the different countries, because we're finding in Africa as a whole there's definitely a need for it. So that's the South Africa question. Did you get that?
Right, sorry. Yes, I had you. The question was addressed to, sorry, I'm fighting with the mute thing, so it's really taken a while to get back.
No worries. So it was addressed to either Dr. Towela and Anne together, because it's around government. So just what do they feel the future is around entrepreneurship and education for women for South Africa and Africa?
Right. The future of women and education in entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
It's gonna take. Yeah.
Shall I start?
Yes, please.
Thanks for the question. And Dorothy, thank you all for having me here. Thanks to Google for inviting me. I'm going to have to drop out after this question, but I'm more than happy to respond to any other questions by email afterwards if the participants wish. Education, for girls. One of the things that I have done ever since my first salary is to support young girls to go to school. First via, my Rotary Club, and then now in many other education programs, for example, in Niger being one of the places where we have, the least literacy levels. That's where I'm from. But especially in girls. And this is a passion that I got from my dad, because my dad used to, as one of the first, teachers in the country, go and grab girls from their parents and put them in school. So right now, with anywhere from the Association for Development of Education in Africa, with whom I work pro bono in terms of making sure that the Ministerial of Education integrate things like the right profiles for all sectors and businesses in the African region, but also the education of girls. It is important. This is where we need to start, and we also not only need to start at the lowest levels, but also go to, the higher levels where we push for young girls to go into STEM, yes, and to go into appropriating science in technology in general. So some of my friends are, for example, coders for Africa, and we're starting to start. To start groups of young ladies. The latest one being, in fact, in Niger. Just this Sunday, they held their first small coders workshop, but only with girls. And basically, we need more of these places where girls do not feel, as one of my colleagues said, as girls do not feel that they're hampered, that they can be someone, that they're not. I was laughing because one of the things that can happen is that, you come, as you say, in a place where you are the engineer and people look at you and want to give you either their coats or whatever because just because you're a woman. All these stereotypes have to change. It's really important that we empower girls to go to schools and to be interested in math and in physics and everything else, and to feel like they can do it. This is not only a boys thing. And one of the things that I keep telling my sisters and my cousins is, first of all, start at home. Never say, oh, boys don't do this, or girls should do that. That's part of the stereotypes that we ourselves as women basically keep putting our own children into by categorizing them into what a girl can do or what a boy can, should not do. So I think it's really important that the girls feel that they can go in, and nowadays from anything from the physical places where they can get the education all the way to online. There are ways of making it happen, and there's no reason why we cannot do it. So plow in there, and again, thanks for having me, but I have to drop because I have another meeting. Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye. Thanks. Bye.
I'd like to add something to what governments are doing, if that's okay.
Yes.
Okay. One of there's quite a couple of issues, and I agree with that we need to start at primary school level, at secondary school level, encouraging women to participate, especially in STEM. But in addition to that, and that's one of the messages that Dr. Dlamini Zuma will put forward today when she addresses and opens the university summit, is that we also need to make sure that we encourage women faculty at universities in science, technology, and engineering. There was a study done a couple of years ago looking at universities in East Africa, and in the science, technology, and engineering faculties, they had less than 3%, 5% of women as part of the faculty, which means that when you get to university and you make choices, you also make choices on the basis of what you can see, whether women can do it, whether women are present in these sectors. So part of what we need to do is to start with girls at home, at primary school, at secondary school, but we also need to change the faces of our university. And I think that our distinguished panel today is an example to show that there are strong role models of women in technology that can make it, that are successful. And the fact that there are these role models means that girls can say that it's possible for me to be an engineer, to be a successful entrepreneur in technology, and to in that way begin to break the ceiling. But it's very important that we push our governments around these issues of girls' education, that we push our societies, that we have successful role models. And begin to use those different means to change the situation and change it as quick as possible.
Can I add something?
Yes. Sorry? Yes.
So I think it's a great question to sort of try and understand what governments are doing to enable the environment that allows more women to get into technology and really more women to kind of get into owning and starting businesses, because I really don't think it's going to change until we actually see we're not anywhere close to the tipping point where we need to be. But I think one of the things I want to point out, and one of the things that I try to point out often enough, is that I think all too often women don't understand the amount of power and strength that we ourselves have in our own communities. I mean, so Anne Rochelle was just talking about how much she's done and has done for many years, sort of making sure that girls get an education. You know, I've done similar efforts as well and continue to do similar efforts. And in just, you know, probably about 2 weeks ago, I spent about 2 hours of my time talking to a room full of secondary school girls, high school girls. And this was a room of almost 300 girls. And when I asked them at the beginning of the talk how many of you had considered getting into technology, and these were all STEM students, not a single hand was raised. By the end of the 2 hours, there were several girls who were interested now in getting into technology. And that was just 2 hours of my time. And so if I can do that, and all of us on this call definitely can spend at least 2 hours a month talking to girls who really haven't had that exposure to technology, don't know about programs like this, don't know that they can use a mobile phone to start sort of communicating and getting more information and learning more about healthcare, or whether it's, you know, e-commerce or math, learning how to do their math homework. And so I think just by the power of each one of us, say, taking 5 girls and teaching them something, it's amazing the chain reaction and what we can do to actually change things. So I think we shouldn't always rely on government. We should realize the power that we have and start making the changes ourselves.
I was actually just going to maybe ask Mrs. Okello, because she runs schools as well. You know, you're hearing this discussion about education, the role of education, and as a proprietor of these schools, what do you think of this discussion?
I think you need everybody on board. You need government, especially since they make policies. In Kenya, we have been lucky. There was affirmative action. We have seen a lot more girls getting into technical subjects than before. Also, the time we were having more secondary schools and schools for girls being built, and I think the entry to university, the marks are slightly lower for girls. So affirmative action and individual action, everybody taking responsibility to ensure that children from a very young age are encouraged to take up sciences and create facilities and create opportunities for them to participate in technical subjects so that they can sustain their interest to go ahead beyond just the school, but use it in business and use it in their life.
Thank you. And okay, the next question is from Nigeria, and this is the question because we couldn't hear them, and it's to any of the panelists. How are you able to build successful businesses, rise to the top of your career without compromising the home front? Any of you can take it. All of you can take it. I see smiles. Enyo, the camera is on you. Do you want to start?
What about Bukolo? I haven't heard her speak yet.
Okay, I'll take the question. I think a lot of us do know that, especially in Nigeria, it's an even stronger issue, or this not compromising our standards. For us as a company, especially in marketing budgets are they get into like billions of naira, so they're quite significant, and so the level of corruption, or the level of things that people try to get you to do, it varies depending on the on the client. And one of the things recently, there was a friend of mine and I were having a chat, and we said, look, we really need to get out of this business if we must keep our values. But mainly what we do, I think, for us is that as a company, it's very, very clear. Part of our core values is transparency. It's very, very clear within the team what we can do and what we cannot do. And these are things we discuss. We're very open to internal discussions. We have sessions to kind of explain to people and empower them to know that, look, the fact that everybody does it doesn't make it right. So it's something that's very, very dear to our hearts. We actually try our best, and all the time we keep to our standards. But it's important that every member of the team understands that, so that wherever they're reaching out to us, it doesn't matter who they're talking to and at what level. The message is very consistent. So there's no, even if they can't talk to me about it, the truth is they can't talk to anybody else in the team about it as well. And in some instances, we've had to walk away from businesses just because we didn't want to do it. But the truth is, and I know this is a very maybe African response, but it's important to actually believe that when you do good things will happen in return. So even if you pass up business because you can't afford, you don't want to compromise your values. So far over the last 5 years, we've been growing at rates of like 200%, 300%. We're the largest digital agency in Nigeria. We actually fight off clients trying to get us as their agency, though we are extremely transparent and extremely of high moral and values and standards. So I think for me, the main thing is for you to really, really know what you want and be very clear about it. And be good as well. So be good to people, and in time, as long as you're good at what you do, plus people actually know that you don't say yes sometimes and no some other times. I do think that over time, your that value would speak volumes for you later. So that's kind of what has helped us. I hope that answers your question.
So clear values. Anyone wants to add on to that before we close? I think we're just about to close, so we can continue with the program. One more remark before we close.
Yeah, I'm happy to add a remark. Yeah, I think it's a very tough sort of situation, because a lot of times when you're sort of doing business deals or sort of going into negotiations or trying to address a client's need, there are some gray areas. So you don't always, and I don't think often enough, really sort of find those situations where it's blatantly an immoral or corrupt issue. There's a lot of kind of gray areas where it's sort of like, oh, I'll give you the job if you've sort of helped my daughter get into a certain school, and those kinds of things. And so, but I think the important thing is really to define where you stand. And Okello said it very well, which is sort of know who you are, know what you won't do, know what you will do. And I think once you do that, and I would encourage you to actually take a strong stance and just sort of make sure that your work speaks for itself, and that the relationships that you build speak for themselves, because we're fortunate enough to still be in an industry where we are adding value to the people that we're working with. And if you define your business well, you'll find that there's something unique that you're bringing that nobody else is bringing. And so trust in that, believe that, champion that, and you'll find that relationships will build over time. It won't be quick money, right? It may take a little while to actually build a reputation and people to see what you do really well. But I think if you believe in sort of what you're doing and what you stand for, you'll find that clients will figure that out and follow you along the way. So I think it's actually more detrimental to having a healthy business to try and find the quick way through.
Right. Mrs. Okello, because you were in 1967, you're already there. So those were different times from our times now. How have you been able to balance this work life? Yeah.
Balancing work and our business is not always easy, but you have to set your priorities. There are times you may have to go slow in one direction, and but I'll give you an example. In 1993, I was appointed a manager at 73 to go to work in Nakuru, which is 2 hours from Nairobi. my husband was in a university lecturer. There was only one university at the moment at that time. I couldn't relocate to Nakuru because my children were small. So I forwent to forgo. I did not take up that promotion because at that time it would have destabilized my family. So as women, we have to know our priorities at particular times of our stages in life. If it is going to upset many people in the family, then you have to reevaluate. Is it worth taking it at that time? Because sometimes these opportunities come later. But you have always to be alert and keep balancing what is a priority at a particular time. And if the family is a priority at that time, then don't neglect it, because there are opportunities of looking after, say, small children. They not come later, and you may damage those children if you don't take care of them at that particular time. So it is a difficult thing, but you have to know your priorities at any one particular time. Also, in business, you really have to have values. For us, it's the values of integrity and honesty and giving quality and excellence in whatever we do is paramount. And this means whether the environment around us is corrupt, we still have to do things in an honest way and give quality and not shortchange the people we are dealing with.
Thank you. And with that, I think you summarized what Enyo and Olubukola also said, really setting values, having clear values and being guided by what your priorities are and leading an authentic life that, demonstrates your values and what you do and what you say, knowing what your priority is at a certain time and listening to it. Ladies, it has been a real pleasure. Thank you so much for spending time with us, Ambassador Phoebe, Enyo, Bukola, and there's someone in South Africa who I wasn't able to get their name, Anne Rachel, Mrs. Mary Okello, participants at the DPM training, women at Google. Thank you so much for just spending this time this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you very much.